We will know that our disinformation program is complete when everything that the American people believes is false. That's not a line from a movie. That's a direct quote from former CIA Director William Casey. On September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was assassinated in broad daylight, in front of his wife, 2 children, and thousands of spectators. Within 33 hours, the FBI had their man, a 22-year-old kid named Tyler Robinson. Right now, news outlets are pushing a story of a lone wolf, radicalized online, who pulled off a 200-yard kill shot under immense pressure, disassembled his rifle, escaped a locked-down campus, and then confessed in a series of perfectly worded text messages. But this isn't about a lone gunman. The organisation that Kirk founded, Turning Point USA, was backed by millions of dollars from some of the most powerful billionaires on the planet. Billionaires Kirk had begun to openly defy just weeks before his death over their connections to Israel and Jeffrey Epstein. And the FBI, the very agency telling you they got him, doesn't want you to know that the vote to permanently seal the Epstein client list happened on the exact same day Charlie Kirk was silenced. Welcome back to the Rabbit Hole Chronicles. I'm your host, Percival Blackwood. We have something from the evidence locker itself, the official FBI photograph of the recovered Mauser .30-06 rifle, the supposed murder weapon. Look at it closely. We'll come back to why the scope on that rifle is a physical impossibility for the crime described. The story they want you to believe is straightforward. On September 10th at Utah Valley University, a 22-year-old former trade school student named Tyler Robinson carried a 44-inch hunting rifle up a public stairwell, concealed it in his tight-fitting jeans, took up a prone position on a rooftop, and fired a single fatal shot into Charlie Kirk's neck. He then allegedly disassembled the rifle, stuffed it into a small laptop-style backpack, ran across the rooftop, leaped off the side of the building, and vanished. It's a neat story. It's also a complete fabrication. Let's start with the video evidence, or rather the lack of it. On a modern university campus, a place bristling with thousands of phones, professional news crews, drones, and high-definition security cameras, the only footage the FBI has released of the suspect is a grainy clip that makes Bigfoot footage look like an IMAX movie. We see a figure in all black run across a roof and jump down. There is no visible rifle. There's no way a 44-inch rifle, even broken down, fits in that tiny backpack without being glaringly obvious. And those tight jeans, forget about it. You can see the outline of his phone in his pocket, but not a massive bolt-action rifle. Then there's the limp. Home surveillance footage, allegedly from before the event, shows the suspect walking with a pronounced limp, which the FBI helpfully suggests is because he has a rifle tucked into his pants. But if you have a 44-inch steel bar in your pants, you can't bend your knee. This man's knees are bending just fine. More importantly, when we see him in the only official video, running at full speed across the roof and leaping off the building, the limp is completely gone. And what about the murder weapon itself? Police say they found it conveniently stashed in a nearby wooded area, wrapped in a towel. It was fully assembled. Think about that. The shooter, in a moment of high anxiety, with police descending on the scene, supposedly took the time to reassemble the weapon he had just taken apart on the roof before hiding it. It makes zero sense. To make matters worse, days after the fact, when people began questioning how he disassembled the rifle, the FBI suddenly announced they'd also found a screwdriver on the roof. A single screwdriver. Never mind that a rifle like that typically requires Allen wrenches, not a flathead, to break down. If the physical evidence is a circus, the confession is the main act. At first, the story was that Robinson planned it all and confessed on the messaging app Discord. It was a perfect motive, an online radical. There was just one problem. Discord publicly released a statement saying they conducted a full investigation and found absolutely no messages on Tyler Robinson's account that hinted at violence, threats, or any involvement whatsoever. So the story changed. Magically, those Discord messages became text messages, and these texts, They are perhaps the most unbelievable part of this entire affair. No 22-year-old talks like this. I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. I'd planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of this side of town got locked down. I'm wishing I'd circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle, but I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. This isn't the slang-filled, abbreviated text of a 22-year-old kid. It reads like a script written by a 65-year-old federal agent trying to sound like a character from an old detective novel. And it conveniently addresses every single element of the crime, from the crazy old dude they arrested as a distraction to the rifle wrapped in a towel. And if that wasn't enough, we're told there was also a handwritten note where he confessed his plan. Its location? Oh, it was destroyed. But don't worry, the FBI found forensic evidence of it. Of course they did. This official narrative is designed to fall apart under the slightest pressure. It's a distraction. So what is it distracting us from? Let's look at the scene itself. Slowed down footage from the crowd shows a small, dark object moving towards Charlie Kirk, not from the rooftop on his left, but from his right and slightly behind him. For a split second, a small flash is visible from a stairwell behind the stage, lining up perfectly with the sound of the shot. Acoustic analysis from independent investigators confirms it. The crack-bang interval indicates a shooter at near ground level, less than 100 feet away, not 790 feet away, on a rooftop. And then there's George Zinn. In the chaos immediately after the shot, a man named George Zinn began screaming, "I shot him! I shot him! Shoot me!" He was immediately detained, providing the perfect diversion for police. He later recanted, saying he only did it to help the real shooter escape. This isn't just some random crank. Zinn is a notorious Israeli nationalist who was also a person of interest for phoning in a bomb threat after the Boston Marathon bombings and was even featured in the 9/11 memorial film. The odds of one man being present at 3 separate major national tragedies are astronomically low. He wasn't a random distraction, he was a professional one. So if Tyler Robinson didn't do it, who did, and why? For the answer, you have to look at what Charlie Kirk was doing in the weeks leading up to his death. For years, he was one of Israel's staunchest defenders in American conservative media. But recently that had changed. He began questioning the official narrative of October 7th. He began platforming guests who were openly critical of Israel's influence on American politics. And most dangerously, he started talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Kirk was openly stating that Epstein was not some rogue financier, but an intelligence asset, and that his handler was Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, a known spy for Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency. Kirk was directly connecting Epstein's global blackmail operation to the State of Israel. The pushback was immediate and immense. According to his closest friends and colleagues, Zionist donors began pulling millions in funding. He received angry text messages and threats. Candace Owens confirmed he was fighting with very powerful billionaires. He was even offered a massive funding package directly from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which he refused. Then Donald Trump himself personally called Charlie and warned him to back off the Epstein topic. It wasn't a threat from Trump. It was a warning about who he was angering. Now, look at the timeline. September 9th, a book mysteriously appears on Amazon titled The Shooting of Charlie Kirk, published a day before he was killed. On September 10th, Kirk is assassinated. On that very same day, the US Congress, in a 51-49 vote, decides not to release the Epstein client list. The same day. And who put up a huge chunk of the multi-million-dollar reward for Kirk's killer? Bill Ackman, a billionaire investor and one of Israel's most vocal and powerful financial backers. This wasn't a random act of political violence by a disturbed young man. It was a professional, multi-layered operation, designed to silence a voice that was becoming too loud and too dangerous to some of the most powerful interests on the planet. They gave us a sloppy, unbelievable suspect. They planted distractions, and they fed the media a story so full of holes that it forces you to look away in confusion, while the real players slip back into the shadows. This brings us back to our artifact, the rifle. Look at the scope. It's mounted so far back that the bolt action would likely be obstructed. The front of the scope may not even be properly secured. This isn't the weapon of a marksman. It's a prop, a piece of stagecraft, in a very bloody piece of political theatre. They needed a weapon to find, so they provided one. The world is not what it seems. We are living in an age of open information warfare, where national tragedies are used as cover for political assassinations, and our own government agencies act as the public relations firm for the lie. Charlie Kirk wasn't killed by a lone gunman. He was silenced because he flew too close to the sun, because he started to connect the dots between money, blackmail and foreign powers, and he was about to tell everyone what he found. The question you should be asking isn't, who is Tyler Robinson? The real question is, who is he a patsy for?